Good afternoon and welcome to the first Realtech Infra Forum webinar. This webinar is an introduction to the digital conference, the Realtech Infra Forum, that will take place later this year in June 17th and 18th. Originally, this conference was meant as a conference that was held in Frankfurt, Germany, but unfortunately the coronavirus forced us to take another strategy. So that's why we're going to do it digital. But first, today we have a webinar that will go into some details of the digital conference later this year. We will publish more details about the conference on our website. Well, the Realtech Infra Forum will be a yearly event, and this time we took the German investment plan in railways as a starting point, because Deutsche Bahn is investing 86 billion euros in the next 10 years in their rail infrastructure, so to modernize it. And these German plans, they fit exactly into the trend, the worldwide trend of shifting transport of people and goods to rail. Many European governments see rail as a way to reach their climate goals and to handle traffic congestions. Well, that's what we're going to discuss at the conference later this year. Today we have 3 guests, and we will dive deeper into the future of European rail and the role Germany is playing on how a modern digital railway infrastructure could look like. In the studio today is strategic advisor at Sequel Work, attain. Ad is the former director of the Royal Dutch Transport Federation, but he also has experience as strategic advisor of the Community of European Railways, CER. He will dive into the role of Germany as a locomotive for the railway sector. And live from Germany from the city of Munich is Christian Benk. He is senior product manager at Konix, a former startup that is specialized in putting artificial intelligence at use for prescriptive railway maintenance. Christian will explain the possibilities of this technique and why infrastructure managers like DB Netz should use it. And as a final speaker, we have Michiel Veldman. He's a senior consultant at Royal Haskoning DHV with many years of experience in the railway sector at several companies. Michiel has done many research about the way regular IT could be used in railways without compromise to safety and reliability. For instance, in ERTMS. Well, let's switch to Ad. Ad, what do you mean by Germany as a locomotive for the sector?
Yeah, this statement I made because in fact many trends in the rail sector, in the European rail sector, they only took off when Germany put its weight behind it.
Okay.
And I would like to mention a few of these trends to sum up. To mention a few: liberalization of the rail freight with the introduction of competition. It only took off when the Germans put their weight behind it. Separation of infrastructure managers and transport operations. I think I've summarized them. The initiation of the TEN-T network. The rail freight corridors with balanced priority for freight and passenger traffic. Public tendering of regional passenger services. Intermodal shuttle trains, ERTMS. The transformation of national operators into European companies. And last but not least, noise mitigation. These have all been trends which we only took off at the European level when the Germans really put their weight behind it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's typical German, of course, then first to hesitate, to look very carefully at what you are deciding, and then to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But once they go for it, it takes on. I should mention, though, as well, that the overall picture for the rail sector is not all that glamorous in Europe. In spite of decades of modal shift policy in favor of the rail sector in general, it hardly maintains its share in the market. And yes, of course, in the rail freight market, combined transport developed enormously, but it hardly managed to make up for the loss in the overall tonnage of the market, in the loss of tonnage in other market segments.
Okay.
That prompted the Netherlands 4 years ago, in 2016, to say, well, what is hampering the development of the rail sector? And the Dutch ministry then took the initiative because of the Dutch EU presidency in 2016, say, well, what should be done? What can we do as ministries? What can the sector do itself to trigger, to stimulate the development of these developments, that resulted in a ministerial statement and a sector statement as well, ministerial declaration, I should say, and a sector statement.
Yes.
That was the so-called Rotterdam 2016 sector statement and the 2016 ministerial declaration. Main elements of that were interoperability, the TEN-T infrastructure requirements, data sharing, timetable redesign, and also, of course, ERTMS. Now, I think that was a very good initiative taken by the Dutch ministry with a lot of support from all the other European member states. And the Austrian, then in their presidency in 2018, they said, well, let's continue that and let's also monitor the progress. I think we are grateful for the continued support by all the ministries which we then got the sector. I think we are also very grateful for the support given by the Austrian ministry under their presidency. But now the real thing, now it becomes interesting because now the Germans will become the EU president in 1st of July.
Yes.
And what are they going to do? And as I stated earlier, I mean, it's of course very important. Germany acts as locomotive for the rail freight sector, for the rail sector, I say in general. And then it's in particular of interest to see what the Germans are going to do as leader of the ministries of transport in the next months.
Yeah.
And what would we think now? What should be in the declaration which the Germans are preparing? I give a few suggestions. And of course there will be in this new declaration something about the corona crisis. Of course there will be a lot of emphasis going to the Green Deal. The digitalisation of the network is very high on the priority list, with automated train operations, data sharing with customers. The work on interoperability will be continued.
Yes.
The TEN-T network will be continued, but with emphasis on implementation, no new technical standards. The ERTMS rollout will be high on the priority list, with due attention for the financing of the investments by the infrastructure managers, but also with due attention for the investments by the railway undertakings. And I think what will be new on this list, and what should be new on this list, is attention for the human resources in the rail sector. And as well attention for the international passenger services as alternative for international short-haul flights.
But why the human resources? Is there not enough attention for?
Well, of course, we are entering in a strange period. There is now at this moment a lot of unemployment, and there is a lot, but also there is a strong development on automated train operations. That means that let's foresee that in the next decades we will no longer need engine drivers on the trains, and that of course is something.
Not at all.
Well, it's hard to imagine, but it is my expectation that that these engine drivers will be replaced by automated systems.
Okay.
And that's a dangerous thing to say, because I can already hear many engine drivers say, but that's impossible and that I will lose my job.
Yes, but when do you expect this to happen?
The
next decade?
In the next decades. I foresee that in the next years we will have the first operational experiments. We are now thinking about that. Technically it is already possible, but it is not yet done in practice.
Yeah.
So who will be the first to try and do this testing in practice, in operational practice? And I'm looking at the Germans for being the first in this field.
Yeah, do you expect them to be front runners, or the locomotive as you mentioned it?
I think the Germans will be the locomotive on this development.
Yes.
And of course you can dispute on this development whether it's possible and whether it is desirable. In my opinion it will happen. The question is when. We do already have automated train operations in the metros in some cities, in Germany for example, as well as in Paris.
Yes.
And this will happen with freight trains as well.
Okay.
And then of course this has implications for the human resources which we employ. There will still be a lot of human resources needed, but we will require different skills.
Yes.
And what are those different skills which we require? It's good to think about that already now. And I'm sure that the Germans will bring this to the agenda.
Okay, so it will be in their plan, in their.
Well, at least I hope so.
Yeah.
But I would support it when it is in their plan.
And do you think there are things from the Rotterdam plan from 2016 that will come back in the German plans?
Well, what we actually see is what is in the Rotterdam plan that has a very broad support from the overall railway sector. That means from all the EU member states, 28 for the moment. That support has been maintained under the Austrian presidency. That support will also be maintained under the German presidency. Of course, you need to update such a list.
Yeah.
Some of the items which were on the list have made some progress. We have made a start with data sharing with customers, but it is not yet a done job. It's still work to be done.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. If there are any people out there watching who have some questions for Mr. Toet, please send them in via our chat function. We're very curious what you would like to know from us. What I would like to know is, what do you think are the chances that more countries will start investment programs like Deutsche Bahn is doing in the coming 10 years? Have you seen comparable investments like this one?
Well, I think we see investment programs in various countries with some hesitation.
But as big as it is in Germany?
Not as big as it is in Germany, because Germany is the biggest country, so that makes that answer easily.
Yeah.
I can see that, and that's why also I started off with saying that Germany acts as locomotive for the railway sector. Once Germany starts with really implementation of ERTMS, the others will follow.
Yeah.
And of course we see that in some countries this is already undertaken. The Netherlands is one of them. It's already on the list. It's on the program. The resources are there. Yeah. But it will only be successful if also other countries, and for the Netherlands in particular, when also Germany acts on in this field. But it also concerns the infrastructure. I haven't mentioned yet the issue of the 740 meter length freight trains.
Yes.
That's an issue which from the Netherlands we wish very much, because 740 meter long trains, that means a number of 3 or 4 extra wagons on the train. That means extra revenue from the train when you have extra capacity at no extra cost, or hardly any extra cost. The infrastructure in Italy, North Italy, is prepared at the moment. Is being prepared. The infrastructure in Switzerland is prepared. So what a nice thing would it be if the Germans also really implement this? And this is one of the issues from the TEN-T technical standards.
Okay, so what you would like to have is the large freight trains.
Larger freight trains, longer freight trains, if possible also heavier. Yeah. But most important is for the combined transport in particular is when they are longer. Longer,
yes. The 740...
740 meter train.
Yes. Okay, well, nice. Well, our next guest is Christian Bank from Germany. Thank you, Ad. Please keep on asking your questions. Oh, well, Ad, please hang on. We have a question from someone from the audience. He is Gerard Snell, I think. I don't know how his name is pronounced, but he asks, will ATO be more promising in the short term for passenger or for rail freight? What do you think?
Gerard's question. Well, I think it is already, the start has been made with passenger trains. In my opinion, it will be taking off more easily with freight trains. But it is not either one or the other. The question is, when can you do it and when can you start? Yeah. We have in the Netherlands the good luck that we have a 160 kilometer long freight line on which it could technically is already feasible to operate trains.
The Betuwe route.
Yeah. But that is as yet still unique in the European Union. Okay. We do not have anywhere yet in the European Union lines of 160 kilometers for freight or passenger trains. Yeah. So to respond to Gerard's question, we could already start with it today with ATO on the Betuwe route for freight. We cannot yet start with it on the larger scale at such distances with passenger trains. Okay. So maybe freight trains will be earlier. Well, let's make it a competition and let's see who will be first. Who is first? Yes. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Then we'll switch to Germany, where is Christian Bank from Konex. Well, Christian, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Paul. I will start my presentation. So, can you see the presentation already?
No, not yet. No.
One sec.
It's always, there are always technical challenges with webinars like this, but I'm sure we manage. So.
I'll share it again, just to be sure. So, there we go. Good. So, thanks for the introduction,
there
Paul.
it is. You're welcome.
First, there's a few words of myself. So, I'm Chris Bank. I'm the senior product manager for responsible for shaping and managing the Konux predictive maintenance solution and for railway switches. And I will give you a bit more deeper dive into it. But before I do so, I wanted to drop a few words on us as Konux, as a company, as this is also a very important part of that story. So we at Konux, we combine industry knowledge with new technology. This is also reflected in our board of advisors. So on the one hand side, we have people like Andy van Bechtolsheim or Greg Papadopoulos, which are helping us and advising us, being technology pioneers who have the experience to transform industries. For example, Andy was the first investor in Google. And on the other hand side, we have people like Dr. Volker Käfer or Dieter Wilhelm, sorry. Both are experts from the industry sharing their knowledge. We are recognized as a technology pioneer and AI council member of the World Economic Forum, and we use all that to serve our customers, now already available customers like Deutsche Bahn, SNCF, Sweden, Belgium, and many more countries. We are very proud that we reached that in that fast pace, and this was only possible because we really combined both sides within our company. At Konux, we strongly believe that railway needs to be the mobility choice of tomorrow, as it is the safest and most sustainable means of transportation. That is why we share the vision to transform railway operations for a sustainable future, and we put out our mission to make railway the mobility choice of tomorrow, and we are doing this by increasing capacity, reliability, and cost efficiency. Already a few years ago, when we started working on our mission, we got that statement from Rolf Herdi, CTIO of Deutsche Bahn, who was telling us there's a real urgency to accelerate predictive maintenance because it does improve reliability. And this was what we, during the last years, were heavily working on, and also got always experience again and again by talking with our customers. And when we started the story, the first thing we did is we were looking where can we really have an impact. So the most important thing was to identify the area where we start. So we went in, looked, and found the most critical asset, which is responsible for about 20% of all infrastructure-related delays, which is the railway switch, and for causing over 20 billion euros spending on maintenance and replacing of switches per annum globally. So that was where we decided to start. And then we put in place our Konux predictive maintenance system for railway switches, which brings actionable insights easier. And that's what we're doing with new technology. We improve availability, reduce switches and crossings related delay minutes, the inspection, maintenance, and repair costs, and increase the asset lifetime. And how do we do that? I mean, this is exactly the core part of this presentation. That we have it placed. We started with having IoT devices in the field at our customers, where we ensure the quality of the data we acquire from the switches. We use this data within the AI core to to use machine learning to generate the insights and deliver those ones through our sophisticated and very intuitive user interface to our users. It's all delivered through a software as a service solution for process automation of railway switches. One of the examples, I mean, talking about AI core, what is an AI core and what does it bring for us and for our customers? In this example, I show how we use the AI core to bring the trackbed forecast. So artificial intelligence was used to use named with machine learning. So we learned based on the historical data how to predict it to the future. So we have a 90 days outlook of how the trackbed condition changes, and we already achieved a 90% hit rate of the issues we generate based on that. So very important, this enables our users, our customers, to take action to prevent bigger issues before they even appear. And that's one of the examples which I would like to share with you, what can be prevented if you have such an outlook. It's just a short video. I hope you can see that half-wise. It's a bit rough, I guess. What you can see when you can really see the video is that those sleepers close by the rods of the point machine are moving a lot. This is because of the clamps were totally broken. They're totally off. And that happened because the trackbed condition itself was that worse. This gives a lot of stress on the rods and leads to further damage of the railway switch. So what could have done if they would have known it in advance is simply that it could be fixed and they could prevent the further damage, because after a while those first thing is the trackbed doesn't support the sleepers anymore as needed. The second thing is the clamps break off, and one of the next steps in future would be that even the rods of the point machine, of the driving of the switch would break, and that's something which can really be prevented if known early enough. Oops, sorry, I didn't want it to go into that again. Next slide.
I also think that when this occurs on the track, there's more noise involved, I think, or not? It should have
Yes.
sound, the video.
Yeah, from the video, of course, there is more noise involved, and this is exactly what we also do with our sensors. We have accelerometers where we measure the vibration, and this is kind of like having an ear on the track. Of course, this is introducing more noise, so if you walk close by, you will also hear that there is something different than on another switch. But of course, you have to be there to experience that. Or somebody has to be close by, and you don't want to have anybody of the public calling you and telling you, oh, well, you have the issue there. Mm-hmm. So that's where we help to really early identify those problems and to prevent any further issues.
And how are these problems at the moment? How are they discovered or monitored?
Usually they're discovered by having the regular inspection cycles. Means like, for example, at Deutsche Bahn, you usually have for very critical switches, you have every once per quarter, you have the inspections going on in the switches. Where they usually would discover such things. It was also in this case. They came there, did an inspection at the first time before we even installed the sensor, but with our IoT device on site and generating the insights in our solution, we now can deliver those things much more upfront, and they can be prevented.
Okay. Nice.
Another very important thing is, and I mean, this really shows the benefit of digitalization. If you have an ear on the track in the end, or an ear on the switch in our case, you can much earlier identify issues, problems, and you can act before something happens. it's not like a reactive system as we have it today. So you go out there, you look, oh, there's a serious issue, I have to do something. It's really something where you get in advance already early indication there's something going to happen. You should take a look into it. So also on this journey with our customers, we then, I mean, just in the beginning, we didn't thought about that being that value, but then we came to the point, maintenance actions which are applied, how is the quality of the maintenance action? How is it assessed? How do you come to the point whether maintenance was successful? And what we discovered is, I mean, we got those answers from people in the field, asset owners, who said, oh, well, how today you simply hope, or you just watch one times afterwards when the train is running over it, or several trains are running over it. They watch it visually and check whether it looks good or not, and decide based on this whether this maintenance action was successful. What we learned, and together with our customers, is, well, that's not enough. I will show an example very soon, but already today we know that it is expected that about 10% of the SMC maintenance is considered to be ineffective.
Okay, well, I think that's a quite shocking figure. 10% is ineffective. Why is that?
Yeah, that's because of there's like still. I mean, if you look at the capacity and the utilization of the network changed dramatically in the last years. But the maintenance rules which are applied are still from the 70s or even earlier, and so it's there's a much faster degradation in between, and there's of course a different impact because of also different load scenarios, more higher tonnage on the switches, higher utilization, faster going trains. So they apply the tools they have, but till now there was never assessed whether in the long term they are really sustainable or not. And that's why now with bringing in making digitalization efforts and bringing in such tools as we have allows you to really get an insight whether this was successful or not. That's why we introduced that feature, helping to really measure in the first case, was it successful directly, and also looking in the long term, was it also sustainable?
Okay, and are these figures, are they from Germany or the whole of Europe, or?
This is from 3 countries in Europe, going from north to south roughly, where we had the chance to investigate that further.
Okay, and which countries?
Mainly Germany, but also Sweden, and we went southward. It was connected to, it was in Spain as far as I remember.
Okay.
This one here is a concrete example showing how the quality of for example, a tamping action behaves after a while. On this date there was tamping, and you see within a short period of time, it's roughly 5 days, it goes back to even very close to the threshold. So this was not sustainable in the long term. And the other way, it was like this. There was this was something we really discovered. I mean, this is a bit awkward that happens, but the condition was good. Manual tamping was applied, and afterwards the condition was even worse than before.
Maybe you can explain for part of the audience what tamping is, because not everybody knows.
Yeah, definitely true. So if you look at a railway switch and also at the rails underneath the sleepers, which is the concrete sleepers and the trackbed itself is a lot of stones, ballast in the end, which needs to support the rail itself to stay in a stable condition and to take all the load from the trains. From time to time, this of course degrades over the time, so the edges of the stones are breaking off and it's getting more loose, and then the trackbed, well, the track is moving more up and down. And this is what we measure there, the vertical displacement. And if this is getting too high, then there's a lot of stress in the material, especially when you're on a switch, the frog, so the central core piece, is very heavily stressed in, or even experience fatigue damage can happen, as well as also the driving of the switch is not in a good condition. And tamping is that you bring that back into a good condition. So there's like huge clamps going into the stones, lifting the sleeper a bit up first, and then going into the stones and pushing them together so that it's supported in a good manner again.
Yeah, to make it a smooth track again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Exactly. So these are concrete examples. Of course, we don't reveal from which customer, but these are real customer examples where we had got this experience. Also, when we come to the frog, and this is what I said before, frog or crossing or point is that piece of metal here in the middle on the left side of the screen. And we were already able to identify the impact, or what we see in the data is the exchange of frogs. So we can clearly see an indication that we can also measure and assess the quality of the maintenance action for the frog. One important thing is, I mean, if you come to such solutions like we have it, and I mean, this is complete new technology also for the railway industry. A core thing for us is to be able to maintain the solution in a good manner. It means like we're delivering these actionable insights, what we say. It's like helping the customer to not learn to interpret all the signals and so on. And it's also that we can continuously deliver improvements into the system, adjust and improve the algorithms which in the background are creating these insights. And so we decided to really go for quarterly releases, and this is, for our opinion, only possible through a SaaS solution. If you would think about an on-premise solution, which means the software is installed in your IT center locally at your facilities, it's simply not possible to update them every quarter, the software. I can remember at times when I was working for another company, for example, for one of the metros in Europe, there was like a modal office test required before you can even do an update of a software, which was very expensive and taking a long time. So it's nothing you want to do 4 times a year. Something where at this time it was decided to only do it twice every 2 years.
Okay.
So that's the benefit of SaaS. We care, we handle this, and we can also maintain the system.
Yeah.
But that's important to enable such solutions, IoT and AI based.
Okay.
So just to wrap it up a bit, what we do is we help to transform the railway operations by optimizing capacity, increasing reliability, and improve cost efficiency. By all these points in here. And let me close that presentation with one statement from Onus Stilis, is the head of the DB Mindbox, who told us, well, with such a system we can change the whole system of maintenance, of planning, of working on a switch, or maybe our whole infrastructure. Which comes to the point you start at a one use case where you directly have an impact, where you can bring a big benefit, and then you go broader. And this is exactly the way where our way very currently on.
Okay, so maybe that's what is happening in Germany at the moment, that they're modernizing the whole infrastructure. I had a lot of questions from people who are watching. For instance, Stephanie Günther, she asks where the Konix system is in service. Is it only a test, or is it already in service, and where is it in service?
We have pilots with our customers where we have the sensors installed in service. It means like in the normal track, on the high-speed tracks and in normal operations, and we generate the insights we have in normal operations. We have on one customer we equipped even all the switches. One of the customers in France. Okay.
And who are the customers? Are the companies that you had mentioned in the beginning, like Deutsche Bahn and companies like that?
Yes. I mean, there are a few more customers, of course, which we are currently not allowed to mention already. But I can say that we are working together with people in the UK or in Italy. And also we have other customers outside of Europe, like in China, in Japan, or in India.
Okay, so it's really in use already. Paul Dart, he asks, how does the data get transmitted from the track, and does it get transmitted to the infrastructure manager or on your own servers?
The good thing at a SaaS solution, as we have it, we don't have our own servers somewhere in our facilities. We use one of the big famous cloud services providers, where we handle all the data in the backend. So it's transmitted through, it's kind of like a 4G modem, which is integrated in our IoT devices. So they are directly using mobile data services to transmit the data into the cloud, where the data is processed. It's all protected, so that nobody else can access it. And of course, it's the customer has the full access to it, and so far is under control of the data also. Okay. It's like, okay, we take care of the system, we control that system, but the data, of course, goes to the customer in addition.
Yeah, and you use the data of your customers yourself to combine them with data from other customers for research purposes, maybe?
What we do is, like, we draw conclusions out of the data and we develop algorithms out of the data, and we use those ones also for other customers. Okay. We don't use the data of one customer on the platform of another customer. That's, of course, not allowed. And we, of course, one of our core values is we put our customers first. And this is really something we are living also in their requirements towards data security and safety. And that's a clear thing. I mean, we are keeping the data safe, and of course the customer data is protected.
Yeah, of course.
Not like we don't share the data with other customers.
Yes. Okay. Well, then there's Annika Janke, and she asks, is the challenge of our network operators to kind of lift the dust because they have no clue or go through the painful process of reorganizing the maintenance processes? Well, do you understand the question?
I think so. Let's extend it that way. Or let me phrase an answer. Maybe you see. I mean, it's a very hard and long process with our customers to start this paradigm shift. It's really something where processes which have been lived for decades needs to be changed. The question was, where does IoT help and what has to be done? Yeah, but especially there it helps. I mean, this is exactly, we have to transform those processes which are currently there by, first of all, enabling, giving them the insights, what's really going on. Yes. I mean, it was surprising when I first time came to that industry. It was surprising for me that in today's in the 20th century, there's, for example, for the maintenance people in the field, it's not really known how much traffic is running over the switch or so. And some of them told us, well, they sit twice a year close to the track and count them. I have people sitting close to the track and count them. That was kind of freaky for me a bit. So I think, yes, we can enable them already with IoT solutions, like bringing all the insights. So digitalisation helps here, and it's also enabling the change of processes within the customer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she says the question was actually, where does IoT help, and what has to be done to have it really implemented in the system?
What has to be done is really the point. First of all, there has to be a shift in the mindset of the customers. That data is something which is really helpful and really helps to improve and to leverage all this value which such a solution like the Corner solution can provide. And yes, the customers compared to a startup like we are kind of slow and slowly getting through this. But we are also feeling that this whole topic is getting more and more surfaced, and there is a sense of urgency there in the market that this needs to be changed, and that we also feeling is on the customer side that they are thinking towards investing in that area and putting more evidence into it, and start to also think beyond the first use cases. What else can we do with that? What else can we get out of this?
Yeah.
Of course, it takes a while until all the processes are changed, and of course, safety is number one, the highest priority, and of course, it has to be safe. It's not like we cannot trust in something that's likely to be that or something.
No, especially not in railways, where safety is very, very important. I have another question. Joseph Milne, he is curious how are IoT devices maintained, updated, renewed from an operational access perspective?
Big thing. Once again, I come back to this. Why do we need SaaS? Why do we need such a cloud solution? We have hundreds of sensors out in the field today. We foresee tomorrow to have more. I mean, this year, end of the year already, more than 2,000 devices, up to 4,000 devices in the field, and of course, we foresee in 3 or 4 years to have thousands of devices in the field. And that's nothing where we can always go to and change something on the device and so. So of course, we have the possibility to maintain and update it from remote.
Yes.
We can access the devices. It's all secured, but it's more likely the other way around, that not we directly access the device. Is more likely that the device comes and asks for something.
Yeah, it contacts you. I'm not feeling that well, or I spotted something. Please come and check.
Also,
me.
I mean, we anyhow have the regular contact where we get the data delivered, of course, and in the same moment it also asks, "Oh, is there something new for me? Do you have any news for me?"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Okay, so it's the other way around. Okay. Arjan Haanstra. He asks, has the separation split from when the state-owned railway company to privatization and different parties a positive or negative influence on the cost and quality of the infrastructure?
That's a tough question to answer from a supplier like we are at Konitz.
So maybe this question is more suitable for Atut maybe, or Michiel Veldman later on. Maybe we have to keep this for later on. Then I have a lot of questions. Yeah. Deep Desai, he or she wants to know, are the pilots only on high speed on passenger trains or also on mixed traffic lines? And how does the data characteristics vary in line with high speed versus freight traffic? We have almost everything in the pilots. It starts also with the difference of do we have concrete sleepers or wooden sleepers? There is a difference of already. Yes, it works above. Of course, we have mixed traffic. In Germany, for example, is high speed and cargo. I mean, during daytime you have high speed. You also have normal traffic, passenger traffic, but you also have cargo at night. In other countries, we also have, let's say, shorter and lighter trains, means more like regional passenger trains, and on others we have a higher percentage of cargo. There is, of course, a difference of the impact. So what we see is that, for example, high-speed trains like an ICE or so have a much higher impact on the switch itself because of purely because of the switch. In the beginning, we would have thought it differently, that the cargo, the heavy load cargo, is giving higher impacts, but the high speed is really the one which is giving more impact there, as far as we can see it from the data.
there's many insights around that, what we found. I mean, of course, there's also another thing is like that in high speed, you most of the times have also longer switches and movable frogs, and more expensive, of course, compared to most of the times in pure cargo, you have more the stiff frogs, where you have a harder impact on the nose of the frog itself.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in the data, what we see there. Good thing is we can use the devices all across the place. But of course, in the beginning, we had a lot of learnings to do there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, more in general, do you think that at the moment, I think I already know the answer, but do you think that railway companies have enough attention to digitalisation?
We see, as I said before, we see a rising, let's say, sense of urgency in the market, and that's very good. Of course, there could always be more, and I think there's really like it needs to accelerate, and also towards like kind of open data approaches where data is more easy shared, and where the people work closer together.
Yeah. Okay. So, but what should be done to speeden things up? Do you have suggestions?
To really speed things up, I mean, besides the openness to new solutions like we have, like SaaS and also like IoT and so on, and the willingness to start also early stage projects like also research projects. Besides all those things, of course, what I said before is the availability of data is the real important thing, because when you look at such a solution, machine learning learns from data. With data, I mean not only the data which is acquired by sensors in the field and the possibility to install sensors there, but also if you look purely at the data, you see a change, but you may not know where it comes from. So you also need the thing what we call ground truth, means like the maintenance information, for example, or operational data where we know, okay, this happened exactly at this time, so we can relate that back to the cause of the change of the data.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was interesting. Please hang on for our next presenter. Maybe you have some questions for him too. This is Michiel Veldman from Royal Haskoning DRV. He's also very specialized in digitalization and railways. So that's what his presentation will be about. Well, okay. Michiel, let's start.
Okay, thank you. Well, yes, thank you for the introduction. Michiel Veldman, working at Royal Haskoning, and my focus in the past decades, so to say, is signaling systems and ERTMS.
Yes.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to give a presentation in this. We are all now facing ERTMS. It is already installed, some lines in Europe, even broader than that. But I think also we are facing a huge rollout of ERTMS. And let's say, in my opinion, ERTMS is more or less IT-based.
Yes.
More IT technology. And that's beautiful, because IT means a lot of data, and data you can use for several things.
Yes, we have seen in the presentation of Konux that
exactly,
a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it fits perfectly to my presentation, of course, for you to judge me at the end.
Yeah.
But let's have a look back to conventional signaling systems. When, in my opinion, a conventional signaling system is based on train characteristics and the worst case situations.
Yes.
So the layout of the track must adopt all kinds of trains. So the fast trains are some kind. The victim, they paid price for the trains.
For the slower trains.
For the slower trains.
Okay.
And that translates also to the performance of the track. And yes, of course, in the last 2 decades, we see that there have been replacements of objects in the track by computers. For example, a computer-based interlocking. But all those replacements are more or less one-to-one replacements. It doesn't affect the performance of the track.
It's not an integral system not
Exactly.
yet.
So to say what do you mean by the performance of the track? It relies on the train separation, based on the worst case train brake performance, and it relies also on the most fast trains for announcement for level crossings.
Okay.
I have a picture. Maybe I
Yes, can you show the picture?
should give a sign to that. Yes, this picture.
That's
Yes,
a nice
please.
picture. Yes.
Yes, this symbolizes, let's say, a conventional system. Of course, it is very simple. It is more sophisticated in real life. But this is how a system could look like, and where we say the interlocking is a system which guarantees safe train movement. And
Yeah.
yes, safety is no issue. Safety must always be there. That's important. The same picture, please, can you follow up the picture by a click of the button?
Yes.
I think the translation is not... it's here. The part above where we saw the signal, I now have shown you, let's say, a picture for what ERTMS could be. The interlocking is still the central part, it's the safe part. We will not touch it. But at the blue part of this picture, it symbolizes ERTMS in a very simple way. But what I mean is there's a lot of data in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of data. And how beautiful should it be using the data for looking at the infra system to make it more reliable, to bring up the performance of the system.
Okay. Yes.
Because ERTMS as an IT-based system means a lot of data.
Yeah.
The data we can use to bring up to give it more performance of the system, but that it is not only signaling. We look at ERTMS as a signaling system, but if we look at ERTMS as a database system, there are more parameters which influence the performance of the track system. For example, the traction power. If we will run trains more close together, is there enough traction power? And the driver, is a driver driving perfectly, like Mr. Toet already said, automatic train operation. So there are a lot of parameters, and I can imagine that you want to play with all those parameters to get the best performance of the rail system. But playing with those parameters in the field, I think it's not a good idea, because the trains must run.
Why not?
Yeah, then you have to stop the running of the trains, to make it free for doing tests. I think it is better to doing tests and to try performance in some kind of controlled surrounding.
Okay.
If ERTMS is installed and you have a lot of data, why can't you make a copy of it, of the real world, in a kind of, let's say, a digital twin? A digital twin of the train, a digital twin of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
You feed the digital twin with the data already installed in the field by ERTMS.
So you can do a simulation.
Exactly. And the crux is to keep the simulation as reliable as possible. How real is the simulation comparing to the field?
Yeah.
If you have a digital twin which is very reliable to the field, then you can do all your testings, your parameter adjustments, and so.
Yeah.
For making decisions, how to change the field again to get a better performance. And that's I think a very great benefit of digitalization. Not digitalization in a one-by-one replacement, but digitalization as a whole system.
Yeah, to have more advantage of
exactly
because it's digital. Yeah, but do you think that is happening at the moment? Because there's a lot of talks about ERTMS, of course, but is this really the case that they are discussing to have it in this way?
Yeah, we are already working with some kind of digital twins, so simulations of the field of the outside.
Yeah,
it is not really depending on the ERTMS, But using ERTMS means that you will make a lot of, it is more a technology step, a game changer in the field.
Yeah.
And you collect data of the whole system. That makes
Okay.
it more,
Yeah, but I can also imagine that it takes a lot more time to have to create this digital environment first and test it than doing it right away in the field. But I understand, of course, the risks. But
yeah, that's correct.
does it maybe it takes a lot more time because it's already
exactly. The idea is it is not a one-time setup. It is a continuously system. You make a digital twin of the outside field, of the physical field, and you maintain that digital twin to compare it with the field.
Yeah.
And the data in the field, there are the real train movements.
Okay.
And of the real train movements, you can see of the data if it is effective or not. You copy that to the digital twin, and that is the basis where you can change some parameters to adjust what can I do to make the performance better.
Okay.
And to make decisions for building it in the field again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And is this already done?
Yes, it is already done, but on a small scale.
Okay. And in which country is the most advanced at this process at the moment, or which railway company?
It is not. Yeah, I think it is. You have to see this as a kind of opportunity to make it bigger. For now, our company we are using this for some consultancy projects.
Yeah.
And it means, yes, you're right, it means you have to give a lot of effort to build it, but you do not build it for one advice or one project.
Yeah.
Because this is a success in a small way. Looking at ERTMS at more digitalisation, it gives you opportunity to make it in a bigger way.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And can you use this digital twin for more purposes than just ERTMS, for instance? Because you can use it for lots of things.
Yes, my opinion is that ERTMS is let's say a big system, but it is not only reliable on, it does not only rely on ERTMS itself. When in the field are assets, intelligent assets with data, all assets with data, you can use that data to feed the digital twin.
Okay, okay, nice. I have a question from one of our viewers, Cedric Succotti, I hope I pronounced it right. He asks, at what level of risk do you estimate the cybersecurity threats that are currently identified on railway systems and data, in particular or on ETCS level 2 and IoT?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The answer is not directly there, but security is a thing which is very important now. Instead of conventional systems, cybersecurity, we talk about safety,
yeah.
But security is, of course, a very important thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to take care of security.
Yeah, and but how?
Yeah,
do you have ideas about that?
That's a good question. That is the development now.
Yeah.
We have to. I can say there must be a high focus on security.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because that's the issue with digitalization as a whole, of course. But
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this is a very interesting topic to further discuss in June, because our time is up, and I see that we have answered almost all questions of the viewers. Well. Thank you very much, Michiel, for your explanation, and we'll hope to see you back in June to have a more broader perspective. Well, also Ad Toet, thank you very much for joining us, and Christian Bank also. And thank you for watching. I hope you will join us in June for our digital conference. Everyone who has participated in this webinar will receive an email to register for the event. Well, thank you for watching, and see you then. Goodbye.